When something hurts or you're in pain, most people will say, oh, you need to take some days off or you need to take some rest. That's the conventional wisdom. That is conventional thinking. Now, in reality, this might be true. This might be true and this might work for a lot of people or whatever. And depending on your age, depending on what you're doing, you might have to do this. Now, if you look at it on being a collegiate athlete or being on a football team or being just different types of situations, right? Those guys will at least they're going to have to be at their meetings. They're going to have walkthroughs. They're going to have they have shell practices or whatever. To say that you can't do anything in shells is kind of like you're just a lazy son of a bitch. So there's ways, and for you to not be engaged in a practice or what, or not be padded up because depending on the injury, right? Because you're in shells that day or what have you. No, you can do something. My point of me saying this is that you can do something. There's probably something that you can do. You probably shouldn't do everything. You probably don't need to go full contact on full contact days or whatever. If you're injured or whatever, you probably need to get your nurse your injury a little bit and make sure until you get healthy or what have you. But you should still be doing certain drill. You should still have your eyeballs focused. You should still have your attention on certain things, obviously, because you don't get better by taking rest fucking days. You don't get better by taking rest days. And I'm not advocating for doing what I'm doing. I don't even think that doing what I'm doing is necessarily correct, but I think that doing what I'm doing works for me because all that I'm doing is seeing what I can get out of the day that I'm given. That's all that I'm doing. Right? And it depends on my body, right? And I've done this long enough to where I can figure out, okay, my body feels like this, my body feels like that. Okay, we're not going to go full throttle, or we're only going to do X amount today, or what have you. And the biggest thing about it is that you do have to take a read on yourself and kind of figure out what you're capable of doing on a certain day or what have you, because for you to say, oh, I'm like not gonna this thought pattern of I'm going to take a rest day or I'm not going to do anything because this hurts or whatever. What about the rest of your body? What about your if your ankle hurts, what about your hands? What about your biceps? What about your shoulders? What about your abs? What about your back? Like, fuck your ankle. Like, fuck your ankle. Like think about all the other ways that you can get better, but besides saying your ankle. So I say all that because I think that this needs to get preached a little bit more. And it's not a David Goggins of who's going to carry the boats, who's going to carry the boats. It's not that. It's a how are you going to work the problem today? You have a problem, good. As Jocko would say, you have a problem, good. How are you going to solve it? How are you going to figure out a way to get better today, even though despite the fact that you have the problem? So it's been a very, very interesting journey for me doing this train every day, me training every single day like I have been, and I have learned even because a lot. The theme of the week has been the hip. The theme of the week has been the hip flexors, right? The hip flexor, the hip flexor, the hip flexor. I've talked about it the last 3 days or whatever, 2-3 days or whatever. Hip flexors bother. The hip flexors bother me. For whatever reason, through this pain that I have, well, for whatever reason that I have corrected my technique, and my entries right now are way more succinct and way more connected than they have ever been. The first one or two turns have been more connected than they ever been. You know why? And I hate to blame it on the injury or what have you. I hate to blame it on that, but it has allowed me to go back, look at some videos, analyze what I was doing right, what I was doing wrong. I even went back to looking at some of the videos way back in the probably about a year ago or so when I was taking some really, really good throws or what have you, and I was able to draw a conclusion of what I was doing wrong. And what I was doing wrong was I think I was almost doing a sumo kind of position, not a sumo deadlift, but my stance in the back of the ring was way too wide, and I think that it was forcing my hip flexor to work way more than it needed to, and through delivering the ball, and with all that, I've been able to correct that, and it's still inconsistent. And I'm still favoring the hip, right? I think that it's still being favored, but I think that if I had just taken the days off and not try to do anything or what have you, if I had taken the days off and not done anything, I wouldn't learn nothing. You wouldn't have fucking learned nothing. So that's the thing about this. I mean, I still don't think most people can do it. I think that it works for a very specific individual. I think it works for me, and because the fact that I've been around the block long enough, I almost wonder if I was professional or if I just did this all the time. I wonder if like long term or whatever, even if I did get the time to do this full time or whatever, I wonder if that would even work for me. Because I'm so used to the wear and tear of, okay, I don't want to do the, or this came up or this popped up or whatever. Okay, I got to go do this, but I'm still going to get this. I'm still going to get this. I'm still going to get this. And it works for me. It works for me. And one of the biggest things that I think that I've learned from this, and this isn't a knock on any professional athlete, right? But I will say, me having a job and working or whatever, and most hammer throwers don't, especially in America, most throwers got something else going. But compared to a football player or compared to a professional basketball player or baseball player, the beautiful thing that I think that you get from being able to, from not having this as a full-time job is compartmentalization. I think that that's the most beautiful thing that you get from this not being the only thing on your daily schedule. It's not like, and I'm not the only one. And really, when you go down, when you get over football and basketball, when you get down to powerlifting and Olympic lifters and people that are normal, even the people that are the people that, I mean, even the ones that are good or what have you, most of them got something else going on. Even if they train people on the side or what have you, like that like they're this is not the only thing. The training aspect is not the only thing. It's not like they have something. Some of them have wives, some of them have kids, some of them have X, Y, Z, etc. going on. And I think that that's probably the most beautiful thing about and being an athlete is that when you're here or when you are in the ring or when you are practicing or whatever, we are at fucking practice. We are not we're not on the phone. We're not texting or whatever. We're not doing that. And I'm not going to lie to you. I've done a bad job about this. I've been on my phone or what have you. But I will say that these sessions, and I will say just for this point, these sessions have been very, very relaxed. This has been like 2 hours of just chilling. On these last few sessions that I've done abs, I've done hip flexor exercises, I've done stretches, I've done a lot of different things throughout the session or whatever, and nothing's been rushed. It's been super relaxed, and I think that, like I said, I think that things like that help me not being worried about every throw. But when you have a coach around, there's a different, like the coach isn't going to be able to stay there or whatever, and you have to get 3 throws or whatever. But you know, I appreciate the position that I'm in. I guess I appreciate what I'm able to do when I'm able to do it. I can't do it all the time or whatever. And I also appreciate me only having an hour and I can take a throw like within an hour. If I take a throw every 3 minutes, it's 20 throws. If I have an hour or what have you, you got 20 throws and then that's it. So I appreciate that as well. So double-edged sword, and I learned through each of them. At the end of the day, I learned through each of them. So at the end of the day, everybody has their own things to deal with. I think that there's different ways of dealing with things, but I'm kind of the head first kind of mentality. Run at it instead of trying to be scared of it, because it's going to be there tomorrow. And even if you do take the days off, okay, that might, and it depends on the severity. And I'm obviously generalizing here, but it depends on the severity of the injury, obviously. But at the end of the day, it could help and it could hurt. I think that I think there's always something that we can do, and there's always something that we can learn, and there's always something that we can grow from. And I think that when you say that you're going to do nothing and rest, I don't think there's any growth there. There's not any growth mentally. If we were in the jungle or what have you, and even if you had sprained your ankle or what have you, running or what have you, you would be limping around making food for people, or you'd be limping around doing something. You would be contributing to because you're technically still able-bodied. So people were different people were different breeds back then. It was a different breed back then, obviously. But, I mean, and I just think that we've gotten soft. We've gotten soft. And how do you find a way to get fucking better? How do you find a way to fucking get something done? Get something fucking done. Regardless of how you, if you're 1,000% or 100% or you're 2% or you're 50% or you're 80%, how do you find a way to get a little bit better or learn something today or improve that without doing nothing? That takes you doing something. So that's my conclusion. That's just about all I got. You already know what the deal is. Run on your toes, keep your mouth closed, lock your doors, and save your throws. And most importantly, live to fight another day. I'm going to get out of here, guys.